Hi, Box Modders. Yay, it's the video. It's the SX versus DNA video. Yeah. So, anyway, okay. This is gonna end up getting broken down into several parts because I really want you guys to understand what I'm doing here and why I'm doing it. I really think this. I think this is important to get as subjective, get some of the subjective testing out of the way and talk about it objectively. And it's no insult to anyone who does subjective testing. And what I mean by that is folks who say, hey, you know, this mod hits really good, this one hits not so good. What does that fucking mean? That's, you know, purely opinion, and that's it has its place. But what this video is attempting to do is we're going to figure out through electrical testing which one of these boards is superior within limits. Now, to do that, we have to have an even playing field, and obviously these boards are not identical, even in their basic capabilities. The SX350 has a single/parallel mode and a series mode, and even in single or parallel, it has a higher watt limit. So some of you might be asking, what's the fucking point? Obviously the SX is superior. Well, no, because if we really wanted to play that game, SX Dick Riders. Ooh, what do we have here? Oh, what's this? Oh, it's the DNA200. DNA200. Yeah. So, by the way, got this from my buddy over at Mod Crate. Check it out. So, anyway, the DNA200, and I'll do a video about it, and I may even do this same kind of setup. SX350 versus DNA200 later on, since essentially it's it'd be the same kind of disparity between boards. But my point is, we can evaluate these two boards on a level playing field, and ultimately it does mean that I'm testing this board to only in parallel mode, and and most of my testing is within that 40 watt range. I did a couple 60 watt tests, and they were consistent with the rest of the tests. So if your opinion is that max power on a board is the ultimate determining factor, then you can stop watching and go about your business, and you can put a little comment down there, you are a fag, or whatever. I don't really care. You'll get fucking banned from my page. Or you can stick around and see at least my best attempt, whatever that's fucking worth, of trying to compare these two. So that being said, it's only in parallel mode. We're only testing this for the most part, to 40 watts. I did some 60 watt testing, but it really wasn't significant. It didn't reveal anything that the 40 watt testing revealed. What are we going to be talking about with these two? In my handy dandy book of notes, we're going to talk about temperature regulation, how well they regulate temperature, and we're going to talk about not just how well they regulate temperature, like in terms of the output, but how electrically they achieve that. And I have, first off, Steel Reserve. I'm going to show you on the O-scope how these things, how these two boards regulate, and they do it in significantly different ways in temperature mode. We're going to talk about the volt display accuracy, because ultimately what these guys do is they measure a resistance and they apply a voltage to it, and if they can't measure the voltage, if they can't achieve a voltage accurately, then the wattage isn't going to be accurate, and so on and so forth. We'll talk about efficiency and resistance measurement, accuracy of resistance measurement. And I'll go through some feature issues that I wasn't real that I was and was not impressed with on each one. And I'll show you examples of my testing methodology, because I want you guys, above all else, I really want everyone to understand why I did what I did. And how I did it, obviously, but why. And I want to start that off with my test setup. Okay, so there says my high-speed test setup. High-speed. So, SX350J, DNA40. So I don't have anything wired off of the board. I actually had a remote switch wired off of this thing. It was a pain in the ass to deal with, so I just got rid of it, and this is actually just as easy as anything to deal with. With the DNA40, I made a little test setup here because it has the provisions for wiring off the board. And I'm going to interject my opinions throughout this video. They're not going to, at least I'm going to try to not let them have an effect on the end product. But ultimately, the SX350 doesn't have any provisions for wiring off-board switches. And if you're going to call this a modder's board, have some fucking pinholes for switches. Otherwise, you're lying. You're being a shitty vendor, which I wouldn't put past them. So good on Evolve for doing that, and this is how they've really done all their boards. So I got my fire button, my down button, and my up button. And what I did was I obviously have two 510 connections here. I measured out the length of wire. First off, the SX350 comes wired. So I measured out the length of wire that came on it. I put that same length of wire on the DNA40. I made all my lengths consistent. So this is our positive running to this 510. This is our positive running to this 510. These are the same length. Everything wired internally in here is the same length. And I did that so that whatever the conditions are on one side, they're going to be the same, or at least very close, on the other side. And that was a big deal to me, because I really don't want anyone coming back and saying, well, this tested differently because you had two different setups. Well, no. That's obviously not the case. So, I wanted this test to be fair. I wanted to give each board a chance to show its strengths and weaknesses, and they both did that. So that's pretty much what I did there. So the test setup, and obviously there's a lot of bare wire here. I left this stuff bare so I could have test points. I needed to be able to clip to everything, and in the same spot too. I'm testing at the same point on each, relatively on each one. So these measurements are as close as I could get them, and that, in my opinion, that's pretty fucking close. So